Well, I think one of the main challenges is to work out what the place of research and development is in the low carbon future relative to subsidies to the deployment of low carbon technologies, because clearly there's a trade-off between subsidizing learning by doing and subsidizing learning by research. So I think we need to work out whether we need more R&D and less learning by doing, or whether we can just do with less R&D.
Unfortunately, we have many challenges, maybe too much even, but I will concentrate on, let's say, 4 big challenges. One is that we are doing too little. Until very recently, the R&D spending in this industry was about 1.5% of the revenues, which is very small if you think that the whole industry in our countries in Europe are spending 4%, which is 2.5 times more. And in innovative sectors like health or software, they spend more than 10%. So we may say that the energy industry is underspending with R&D, which is paradoxical because we are facing enormous challenges regarding the future. The second is that not only we are doing too little, but also we did start too late. We did start roughly a little bit 7 years ago, but we are really doing it since 5 years, which is very little. If you think that if you want to spur a revolution in an industry, it can take 15 years, 25 years. I would like to remind you that I did start using a computer in 1985, so near to 30 years ago. And we are only now seeing the results with smartphones, a new wave of revolution. Thirdly, we have insufficient coordination. We are Europeans, but we are mainly Europeans because of the cover of our passports. In practice, we are still national. As we do not coordinate enough, or most of the time we do not coordinate at all, we redo exactly the same thing in several countries, which is a bit stupid. And there is things that nobody does, which is stupid also. And the European layer of research is very thin, very small. And the fourth thing is that there is a general lack of independent expertise. We use most of the time stakeholders, lobbies, interested parties to frame R&D, and we have very few independent expertise, and this has many consequences.
Well, by definition, it's impossible to know whether R&D subsidies are well targeted until we see the outcomes of R&D. I think one would want to question the motivation behind some R&D expenditures at the moment. Clearly, the motivation behind R&D expenditure should be a desire to promote the public benefit of R&D to society. And that's best done by promoting competitive research and things which are properly assessed on their scientific merit. But of course, what can happen with R&D support schemes is that they get targeted towards fashionable technologies or towards institutions which are fashionable rather than the ones that are the best to do energy R&D.
I would like R&D being really targeted, but not only targeted at what exists today and what we see from today for tomorrow. which is typically the way interested parties, existing industry, existing companies work, and they are right to work that way. But we should also work for the future, and the future will be deeply different from today. So we need new ideas, newcomers, new companies, new investors, and most of the time they have hard times or difficult times.
Well, I hope not. I mean, the whole point about R&D is that it should be something which promotes innovation wherever innovation might exist. So it's not altogether clear that it's a good thing to Europeanize. Clearly, it's good to coordinate on strategic rollout of particular technologies across Europe, and it's good to coordinate on carbon pricing across Europe. But I think coordinating on research and development expenditure is probably self-defeating.
I would like, maybe you too, will we see it? The question is still open. What we call Europe in practice is, let's say, European Commission, and with European Commission or around European Commission, some European entities, let's say JRC, the Joint Research Center. But what is the European layer, the European center, is spending roughly, if we are lucky, 1 billion a year. And with 1 billion a year, what can you achieve when you have storage, wind, solar, biofuel, and I'm forgetting many others, because there is also CCS for burying the carbon, etc. So the European layer is not very well equipped or funded. So its capacity to coordinate, to push or to pull is limited. Can we do better? We should. But again, we are coming back to the economic and financial crisis and to the austerity policy. And these policies are not good to find funds for funding R&D, and they are not good for coordination, because as you know, let's say, national resent against Brussels is growing in a lot of countries, and therefore is more and more difficult to coordinate the R&D effort or the R&D public funding.
Well, I think that one needs to start by getting the prices right in the energy sector. I think if we have a proper price of carbon, that would really help spur low carbon innovation and spur the right type of low carbon innovation. If we had locationally differentiated energy prices, which were truly reflected the cost of supplying energy and producing energy at different locations, that would also spur the right sort of innovation. I think when we do support R&D, we should do so in a competitive way. So I certainly am very much in favour of innovation and R&D competitions rather than just dishing out money to favoured companies to do R&D.
Again, a challenging question. First, I would like personally more funding. I would say that today, in my mind, I can be wrong. I'm wrong one time out of two, which is a lot. Maybe I'm wrong today, but I think that we should spend more for R&D and less for deployment. In Europe, we are spending roughly 50 billion every year to push renewable energy. But we are spending only a few billion to develop the new technologies. There is a discrepancy among the two. In my mind, we should have, let's say, 10 billion to push R&D for renewable, and then say 40 to 45 to deploy it, or even more again for R&D. For in my mind, the funding is not well allocated between research and deployment, investment. Second, I would like to have more coordination among countries. Even if I assume that it's difficult to coordinate at the European level, why not to coordinate at the regional level? Spain and Portugal have a common market. They call it MIBEL, or call it the way you want, call it the Iberic market. Why they don't coordinate their research policy? They should, because they have a common energy market. While Italy is not coordinating a bit more with, let's say, Slovenia or Switzerland or any country you can imagine, and why the Netherlands, Belgium, and maybe France, or if they prefer Germany, do not coordinate a bit more? Why we do not do more at the regional level? Another example, we have the North Sea. In the North Sea, we know that we have a lot of offshore wind. Why the countries neighboring the North Sea are not coordinating their offshore research? I have no answer, but I'm sure that we have to ask the question.